And here we go. So we may have a few more people joining us. I hope we do. Once again, welcome to our virtual home buyer seminar. I'm going to hand it over to Mark Lenard, who is here with our mortgage expert. He works with Fifth Third Bank, and he has been involved with New Lenox for a really long time. If you haven't already had a chance to see his presentation, I do recommend it, and I hope that you are able to learn something today that will help you find the home of your dreams. Take it away, Mark.
Okay, and let's see, I'm going to share my desktop. I think I got that. There we go. Hopefully people can see that, and we might wait like a little bit of a minute or two, maybe some more people will join, but I do want to congratulate the people that are on this call. The reason why is home ownership is truly a game changer. It can even change generational thoughts in regards to homeowners. Again, my name is Mark Lenard. I'm a former regional VP in the mortgage banking world. I'm just a loan officer now. I'm just having a blast helping people. My knowledge level will definitely add value. So hopefully you will be able to have a piece of paper and pencil, and there's going to be some key areas that you might want to take notes on. We'll go through some of the slides too. Also, I have one of my teammates from the realtor world, John, and he will be doing his presentation after I do mine. That covers lots of material. It's very important to have subject matter experts, because normally when you buy a home, it is your largest financial transaction to that point, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, which John and I specialize in. And I have 4 locations of Fifth Third Bank that report to me. And so I love working with first-time home buyers or whatever. But this seminar is educational so that you can actually see some of the components that come into our decision at the bank or any lender for getting ready and prepared. It's never a question, can you buy a home? It's when. And because there's certain areas that are just critical to that underwriting decision, and give you a couple of those names right at the start, but there's credit score. There is debt to income ratio. There is how much money you might put down. So there's so many great programs. There's even home buyer down payment assistance, free money. It's really great things that the banks do, that you can have a free down payment assistance to get you into a home. It improves neighborhoods. It improves communities. And like I said, it's something very important, even for the generational. So one of the things that's important to know is you're getting yourself ready. And we will have Q&A at the end. So any questions, write them down and keep them. But it's okay if you do interrupt on that. Just take off your mute and just ask a question would be great. But this is a special time because it's still a great time, and I can answer questions about rates and so forth. Yep, rates are going up without a doubt, right? They're trying to right size the inflation, and it is what it is. This will go on for a long period of time, is what's being projected by Fifth Third Bank's strategic wing of our company, our bank, and other things. That it's going to take a while for all those pieces and the stars to align to get that. But home ownership always happens. That's more of a life event. And one other thing that's important to know is that the size of your mortgage, has math dynamics. That's why I love what I do. What do? I sell money, besides helping all those other areas to get you into the home. And with with John as my partner, you've got the good circle. So I'm not selling cars and this one has leather and this one does. You don't know. This is factual math that you can see. And I'm actually going to show you something that's a very beware of what some loan officers, when they're selling rates off of the charts, I'll actually be able to probably even show you some charts of how that works, because it's very, very important. First-time home buyers, second-time home buyers, or so forth. But in regards to, because I'm not exactly sure who's on the line watching this video, but we are recording it for later, is first-time home buyers are usually renting. Sometimes they're living at home and they need a down. That's where the down payment, or they can get a gift. We'll talk about that. But right now, in the comparison of being a renter and also being a homeowner, is when you're a renter, and we'll have a slide that shows the pros and cons, but in a nutshell, a renter, you're basically you're just throwing away your money. When you own a home, you are building your equity savings account. You just pay your rent to your lender, whoever helped you buy the home. You pay your rent to them, which we and they call it a mortgage. And it can be for the exact same amount you're paying for rent, right? You can structure it so it's the same, and then say, okay, this buys me this size of a purchase price, 200, 300, 400, 100. And then there's other topics we'll talk about when you do talk about a condo or a townhome. But as you go, and I'll end with this before we start the slide, is here's how I use my hands. You buy a home, usually for a minimum of 3% down, right? So if you buy a $200,000 home, that's $6,000. There's other loan costs, but that's your down, is the minimum. And all different terms we'll talk about, but that's already building your equity into your home. Then as you make your payment, like I say, it's like a rent payment, but it's really a mortgage, has your taxes escrowed, has your homeowner's insurance, so you don't even have to worry ever. I have an escrow. And so then as I make payments and my house goes up, that in between, that margin is called your equity savings account, your equity in your home. So after 2, 3, 5, 8 years, you got 20, 30, 40,000 or more in your account. So when, like me, on my 5th house, I sold one, had to borrow from my 401k to get the first loan, and worked perfect because they allow you rules on 401k borrowing for a home purchase. And so then, and there's other great things. So here we go. Let's go into this, make sure. Okay, here we go. So topics covered in this presentation: is owning right for you? Owning versus renting, a comparison. Do's and don'ts if buying your first home. What to expect from your lender. Steps to get started today with whoever you're looking to go through. FAQs, frequently asked questions. Next. Is owning right for you? So the advantage is on the own is you get to build this equity savings account. In my opinion, that's huge, because eventually you want to have your third house, maybe over 30 years, or maybe you have one house, but you're building that equity savings account. So it's almost like a retirement thing. There's many advantages to that. You can borrow against your equity. You've heard of home equity loans, you know, when you needed to build or add an addition or debt consolidation. So people who rent, they don't have that option or avenue. And of course, when it's with the home, you get better interest rates. Okay, so gain sense of community. The first thing I did when I bought my first house is I set up years ago, I set up my stereo system. I just turned on the radio, turned it on as high as I could. I loved it. I could do anything I wanted because it was my home. I owned real estate. Free to decorate landscape to your taste, not depend on landlord for repairs or maintenance, and potential tax benefits. The reason why there's an asterisk, because we're always to tell you, is check with your CPA. But here's how it works, okay, is if you file long form, not the short where you use the standard deduction, but if you file long form, then, and a lot of people do that, own homes in Illinois, because unfortunately, our property taxes are relatively high to some of the other states. Well, the lender will send you a 1098, not a 1099. It's not an income like you're a self-employed or a contract. No, this is a 1098, which then that form you give to your CPA, and every penny of interest that you paid on your mortgage, that's reported. You get this 1098, and that shows every penny of interest you paid. And since it's your home, you get to 100% tax deduct. And on a 30 or a 20 or whatever, there's a lot of interest at the start. Then it starts chipping more and more. And there's great strategies to save thousands that you can always reach out to me with any other questions, even offline. That's what, the tax benefits are. You also, on this 1098 that the bank gives you, you can write off all of your property taxes. So if that adds up, plus other deductions you may have, to more than the standard deduction, you file long form and you have a bigger refund check. Or if you always had to pay in how you did it, then it could reverse it to completely where they pay you. So it's a really good thing in regard to potential tax benefits. It's based on how you file. Talk to your CPA. Okay. The disadvantages for owning a home: responsible for maintenance, responsible for property taxes, but that's in your escrow. That's already figured out. We've already proved that you easily can afford this because there's rules with debt to income ratios. Less mobility compared to renting. Yeah, you own this home. You could always rent it out and buy another home or move and become a landlord and make profit that way if you so desire, but that is a factor. Sorry. Rent. Advantage: little to no responsibility for maintenance. Hopefully you have a good landlord. Easy, quicker to relocate. Yeah, you can just pick up, give your 30-day notice, and away you go. No tax benefits, like we just said. Not gaining any equity. Huge one, in my opinion, because that adds up to, I think by my fourth house, I had $250,000 that I was able to throw on a really nice home in New Lenox, Illinois. I've been here for 23 years. All my 3 grown married kids graduate from Lincoln Way. We love it here. So that, and on no tax, not gaining equity, and no control over rent increases, which we've heard a lot of horror stories lately. And that's how that goes. So that pride of ownership is something that's different, and it can change generations. Next, owning versus renting, a comparison is you can see a 7-year rent ratio. So this is just a chart, just shows you some of the things of after tax, because remember, there's a tax refund opportunity if you file long form, and that can add into your total numbers because everybody has their nut or their pie, their finances, and so this is a piece that you include into the whole thing. So you can see, I'm not going to go through the whole chart, but you can see monthly rent, you can see all the different factors of the savings plan. You can always take a picture with your phone on any of my slides, by the way. You have your insurance, your mortgage insurance, and so forth. So here it is on the own versus the rent, and you can see the payments and then the equity savings. Look at the savings summary. Okay, you see it's $68,000. So a lot of different line items, all very easy to, because you have renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance, and truly, this is a nationwide slide that Fifth Third put together for us as a presentation. One of the line items, renters, homeowners, and insurance. Well, renters, homeowners, this is more, like I said, they just do this. This number's not true, in my opinion, for the state of Illinois, right? Renters insurance, $2,500. Yeah. That's not it, unless that's changed. Maybe you might know better than I, but homeowners insurance, yeah, I do know, right? So homeowners insurance, I have a nice home, right? And I pay approximately $110 a month. Okay, so if you do 110, that's more like 1,400, 1,300, and this says 4,347. Mortgage insurance, that's only, that number is completely gone. That's only if you don't have 20% down. If you have 10% down, then it's a different number. Mortgage insurance does nothing for the buyer. It's only for the lender, per required by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, for all lenders. If you have 20% down, yeah, there's not a lot of risk for the lender, right? If you only have the 3% down, or the 5, or the 10, or the 15, the more you put down, that homeowner's mortgage insurance goes lower and lower and lower. If you do the 3%, the ones that I'm seeing is about $250 a month. So in the state of Illinois, this mortgage insurance, right now, it was a 7-year. Let's clarify this. It might be with the 7-year that it's showing, but these numbers are low and it has to be in your approval limit, for your income. And we'll talk about DTI in a little bit, so you know what the underwriting guidelines are. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Get pre-qualified for a loan. Singles, you're a serious buyer, and no seller will sign your offer that you're presenting through your realtor, through John or whoever you pick. John is one of the top guys in our Lincoln Way area, but whoever you pick, that's important that you have a credit driven, not these fake ones you hear sometimes out there. That's just, oh yeah, you verbally tell me your income and all that. No, you want an app in that credit was run so that you qualify, because anything over like 620 in credit score, and we'll explain that later, is you can buy. And some lenders will go into the 500s, but be careful on some of those things. It's usually what I tell people is have your loan officer, me or whoever it might be, give you the key advice so that you can get your score up. And it's not a question if you buy, it's just when. It might be 3-4 months later after you get scores higher, because anything in the 700s, you're getting much better rates than in the 600s and so forth like that. And we'll talk about it. So tell sellers you're qualified, so they'll sign it. Know what you can afford before you even shop. It's very good. Get a quote. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Be realistic about needs and wants. Think about how long you're staying in the property. I always use a 3-year mark, because when you're doing on the rates, there's ways some people say, hey, can I buy down, Mark, the rate even farther? The rate, because rate is the payment. Can I pay a fee, which is called a discount fee, and go lower than the rate that's normal? Yes, you can. It's called a discount fee. It's measured by a math term, not to get worked up on. It's called points. But I always tell my clients, never pay points plural, 1 point or more. What is a point? A point is 1% of your loan. So if you have a $200,000 loan, that'd be $2,000. I don't normally encourage. I give advice. I'm a trusted advisor. I'll make recommendations, but you're the boss. I'll give you my reasons, but it's totally up to the client for what path they want to go down. Okay. So 3 years, because there's an other side of the chart on all lenders' rate charts. They have like 10, 15 rates, right? And so then the other side of the rate chart, where you pick a little higher rate, a little higher payment, could be $10 higher pay, could be 20. It all depends on if you have a 400,000 mortgage or a 200 or 100. It's really the math dynamics is part of the equation, is how big the loan size is. But you want to do a fraction. If you're going to be there less than 3 years, then the other side is called a credit for interest rate chosen. When you hear on the radio say, oh, we have no closing cost loans. Everybody's got that. All we do is do a credit for interest rate chosen. You pick this rate, go a little higher. Okay, now I'm paying you points or a fractional point that eventually can keep on going. So now you have no closing cost. Not a smart thing. If you're a home buyer, first time, even a regular, if you think you're going to be there more than 3 years. Okay. And then you get to see the school district. There are a lot of great ideas. John might be able to give you some thoughts, but I know when my wife and I bought our first home in New Lenox, we're on our second one for 18 years. And, we sat out in the neighborhood and read the Sunday paper, right? And because we've been at this home 18 years. And so, yeah, we read and looked at the neighborhood, and we had kids, they have kids in our age. So there's some cool best practices. Clearly communicate your needs to your real estate agent. And like I always say, in my opinion, always pick a full-time agent, like John or somebody else that you have a good feel for. The do's and don'ts from, not all mortgages are created equal. Understand the best loan program for your personal situation. There's ARM rates. 10-year ARM is a better rate than a fixed rate, but you got to make sure you're not going to live there more than 10 years, because it's going to start adjusting on that. I can answer, like you say, other questions, but continuing, search for the most competitive rates. I mean, here we are. I love competition. I'm a professional sports guy. My family is world-class sports. So we're competitive. And so, yeah, I don't lose loans because of rate. Get your finances in order. Gather your tax returns. We need, if you're self-employed, not if you're W-2, we need 2 years of tax returns, both personal and corporate. If it's like a sole proprietor, then just a personal will show your Schedule C on your tax return. So that's only if you're self-employed. If you're W-2, we just need 2 years W-2s and you might have had 4 companies in that time, or maybe it's just one. We need all the W-2s for 2 years. Bank records, we need 2 months of bank statements, all pages. The reason why we say all pages is because sometimes a customer will see that on page 1, it does say 1 of 4, but they look at page 4 and they think it's blank and they don't send it. Nope. Somewhere on that piece of paper is 4 of 4. Even if it's blank, they'll be there. The underwriter needs that. And then let's see, credit reports. I help people improve their credit. I have that major experience. But it's important. And also sometimes you can do a pre-peak where you go to the government set up annualcreditreport.com. So a lot of people once a year, if they follow my coaching, they said, because you can see different things. Say, hey, what's that? What's this? You can sort of, do that, look at it and be proactive if you need to. And there's ways to make sure that you get your highest score like that. I even help on collection agencies. I don't think most people do that. So you can really get your score up, and then plan it. Self-employed's back to that. Sometimes they shoot themselves in the foot. They want to buy, let's say in May of next year, or even right now, because a lot of people are buying like you folks, and they're buying it and they're self-employed, but they allowed, in a sense, their tax guy to write off everything. So and we can add some things back in on self-employed tax returns like depreciation, but let's say it got to 7,000 total profit for the entire year. Well, you divide that by 12, right? Now we add in our, so maybe we're giving credit for 30. So then a lot of self-employed should basically, before they turn in their 2022 tax return, right, next, they're going to turn it into their person in January or February. Well, then that's when you're telling them, just let them know, hey, I'm buying a home. I need to show, it's all legal, right? The thing, you're not doing anything. You're just saying he's not going to tax deduct everything in the world, right? So you might have more taxes that year, but we have to use a number. And it's just not made up out of the blue sky. It's got to be proven. We also, from even self-employeds, if they pay themselves this way, but W-2s, we need 1 month of pay stubs. 1 month of pay stubs, 2 years W-2s, or 1099s, if that, and the tax return if you're self-employed. Oop, shouldn't be touching that like that. Okay, hold on. Okay. Yep. Okay, so think about how long you're going to stay. Consider, I think we did that one. I'm sorry, I touched the button. We go here, get your follow tips, get your finances ready. Usually on that, the big one on credit reports is see what your high credit is by your charge cards. And you want to be at 25% or lower. If you're at 52%, you're losing points on your credit score. If you're at 28%, you're losing points. If you're at 75, in that, that band, you're losing more points. If you're over your credit score, losing more points. There's a 24-month train track. It should be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And if I see a 2, somewhere in the 24 months, right? I know exactly what month that you missed a payment. And it happens. It's okay. And as it gets older and older and more than a year away and all like that, then your score starts coming back. Never close a charge card. I tell people, never close a charge card. You're losing seasoning point, even if you don't use it. Take a rubber band, take your charge cards, the ones you don't, throw them in the back of a freezer. That's what I say, right? You can always reopen them. People, hey, Mark, will you chop this up in front of my spouse? No, I don't do that. Yeah, so that's one of the things you do there is keep charge cards. Don't close, even if you don't use them, right? They're no longer, companies are doing annual, fees. It's too competitive out there for those cards. So keep them. Don't use it. And then maybe once every 2 years, buy something for $20 so they don't close it on you for non-activity. Because if you open that up 3 years, 5 years, 10, 12, don't close that. You're getting a lot of seasoning points. Okay. There's buying programs, national, local. Our bank does 3,600 as free money. There's qualifications, if you're making, under 100K and stuff like that, but ask your lender, your loan officer, some of those things so that you have all the resources. Counseling programs are available too. If you ever get, behind or something like that, it's very important to watch this. It's your biggest financial decision. Next, use a real estate agent. Ask friends, family for referrals. Well, I'm giving a personal referral for John, right? He's been my realtor. I've seen him in action. I see his follow-up. He is full-time. He's a good guy. He returns all my clothes. Make sure whatever real estate agent you pick has those same characteristics, because it can get frustrating. So seek out that full set. Real estate agents know the market inside and out, and he's going to elaborate. I'm not going to go over this. They represent your best interests, right? They make your offer. He'll go over that, but they're in your corner. And there's a lot of things that he can say, hey, can you give me a seller credit on this because of this? We saw this on the inspection. Can you buy down the rate for my client so it's below market rate? You're in the negotiation part. Make sure you have your pre-approval from a lender like me or somebody else that's, that is a lender. Okay, and then interview several real estate agents if you so choose, but it's really if you don't have any referrals, because personal referrals are the key. Next slide. Hire a home inspector. Okay, and that normally comes from John. He has home inspectors. It's good when you get a referral like me for John or a home inspector or anything like that, because there's pressure on them. They better do good, right? I'm trusting them with my client. And so it's always good to have that, because I'm going to ask you, how did John do? And I get great reports. That's why John's on this call. And so it's very important to really know some of the ins and outs, because it's a big decision. So, going down, request seller paid home warranty. If it's, the utilities inside and everything like that, they're 8, 9 years old, and the air conditioning says, we'll give you a home warranty, so that protects you for 1, 2, or 3 years. I have one going right now where beautiful home. It's only 22 years old, but the air conditioning and the heating is old. I mean, it's original. So they're giving a 3-year home warranty. That's very important. Okay. So the difference real quick between an inspector, which has nothing to do with the lender. Okay, you can always run stuff by me, but I don't want a copy of it. When you do a home inspector, it's usually around $500-600, and you get it from your realtor, the referral, and then they are like in the home for 4 or 5 hours. Even if the doorknob is loose, and you and I could walk right behind the inspector that writes it down on his report, we could tighten it, but no, he's going to list everything. So many things, you're going to be shocked. But it's only the 3 big ones that are important: the roof, the basement, and the water and stuff like cracks or whatever it might be, and then the utilities, right? So those are the important ones. So he goes through everything, and then there could be some negotiation for seller credit towards closing costs or whatever it might be. Home warranty, and you can do layered items that can benefit you also. An appraisal, that's where the bank orders it. We can't even talk to the appraiser. It's a new law, which helps. It does, the Dodd-Frank law in 215, because there were so many bad loan officers out there that were coercing the appraisers. They'd order the appraiser, give them, they're paying for their college education because the loan officer could order it. Well, that's totally stopped, thank God. There were so many bad loan officers that people would then need to sell 2 years later, and they're upside down because the appraiser did it too high, like that. So the appraiser's only in the home for 15 minutes, takes pictures, measures, and then leaves and does 3.5 hours back at their office finding comparable sales under the guidelines of their state license. Okay, and then the real estate attorney, that's always good. I give referrals on that. John can, but I like that, and your lender can, because then there's pressure on them. And not only that is we've already experienced them. They do a great job. And so that's sort of important to hire an attorney, and $500 for that person. So $500-600 for an inspector. It's a big purchase. Definitely get an inspection. And the real estate attorney is important because he's at the closing going, and he looks at the contract. If there's any negotiation between attorneys, because you're not going to have normally too much negotiation on the bigger things by the realtors. Could happen, does happen, especially when you got a quality guy like John. But so that's where you get that. Request a seller paid home warranty. Okay, next. I'll try and speed it up. Okay, the don'ts in buying your first home. Don't rush. Take your time, find the perfect home. Even if you're selling your home, sell it. And if you have to rent, you don't want to, but in this market, maybe that's the play. Okay. Don't negotiate contracts without your real estate agent. Don't buy more than you can afford to pay on your current salary, right? If you know you're retiring in 6 months, right? And the loan officer doesn't know that, which happens often because you might not retire. So even when people say, well, let's qualify you under this income, but you folks decide, because sometimes quite often they say, okay, I'm going to go for another couple of years like that. So, figure out that part. Don't underestimate the power of competing buyers. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't feel pressured to make decisions if you're not comfortable. Don't open additional credit cards, right? Car loans, things like that. When a lender does their credit report, right, it's all 3 credit reports: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And then what they do is you throw away the top score. You throw away the middle score. Throw away the top score, throw away the bottom score, and the middle score is what you're approved on and priced on, right? All rate charts are based on risk. Okay, so what happens is their middle score is important. If you have 2 people as co-borrowers, sometimes we do non-borrowing spouse because we don't need the other spouse's income, and that him or her is lower by significant, not just in the same band, because then it doesn't matter. But if they're way lower and you don't really need their income, then it's called, we do them all the time, it's called a non-borrowing spouse. Totally owns the house 50-50. It's 100, is vested, with you. If there's 2 people, completely exact same. They're just not going to be on the promissory note. But in state of Illinois, it's a marital property state anyway. So we don't run credit on that other person, or we just take them off because the score came in higher. So there is some things that you can do, and that's that one. Let me move on. So what to expect from your lender. So they're going to, and this is, they basically, the lenders are going to 49.9. So what we do is we take the gross income, not the net, the gross income that's provable, right? Even if it's self-employed, whatever we calculate with adding back in depreciation, whatever that number is, W-2s, it's easy, right? Because we just take your last pay stub, not your W-2. W-2 from last year shows us trend, but it doesn't. Your last pay stub, we see, okay, it's October 10th. Well, we know then we take that highest number on your pay stub, the gross biggest number year to date, and we divide by 9.2 because it was 9 full months and a little bit of October. So that's how we do it. So this is saying between 28 and 40, and that is true, but all lenders go to 49.9. Okay. And that's how that goes. So you can just see where it is. They have income of 5, they take, so 2,000. So let's say the 5,000 on the 50, that's 2,500. That's one person's income possibly, or maybe it's the family. So we take 5,000, we divide it in half. So that's $2,500. That means under this scenario, for an approval, all your charge card minimum payments, any installment loans on there, because that is a payment. And then your new mortgage that we calculate with the principal and interest, the mortgage part, the loan, and then 1/12 of your property taxes, 1/12 of your homeowner's insurance. And you might have HOA, if you buy a condo or a townhome, all that's gets figured in. And if we're below 2,500, and your score is over 620, right? You can buy a home. People don't realize, how it's important. Okay, what to expect from your lender? Tax escrow proration, right? We calculate that because we have to see what your entire mortgage payment will be with escrows. I don't have to have an escrow. If you have more than 20%, you don't have to have an escrow, but it's not like I'm getting paid 3% on my checking or savings account. It's so low that I love having the peace of mind on my escrow. And I just make my payment to my mortgage company, and I don't even have to worry or even get anybody a bill from property tax that's sent to me every year, or my homeowner's insurance agent. They have it. Okay, processing fees, right? They vary, right? Just so you know what Fifth Third is our only cost is $1,145. There's other third parties that have nothing to do with us, like the title company that the seller picks. So the seller attorney is going to pick. Well, you and I don't get to pick it. They pick it, but good news is it's competitive with other title companies. So, but that could be $3,000-4,000. Right, just in your title work on something like that. So there's negotiations and some great best practices I can tell you, or whatever realtor you pick. I can give them secrets of how you talk to a seller after you've negotiated it. Then say, I'd like to make the offer $3,000 more, so that then there'll be in one of the line items in the contract is seller credit. So you've already in this smart years ago, you could do it right at the start. To get, I like your house, but I like another house. What incentive, Mr. Seller, will you give me to sign your contract? Well, that was years ago before the COVID. Now we're in the COVID where no, it's too competitive. So you negotiate your top price. I mean, not top, you negotiate with the seller because he's got your pre-approval. You're golden. Once you get that, then you can say, okay, what I'd like to do is make the offer $3,000 more, and then put a seller credit for $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever, because you personally get a bigger bang for your buck with just having over 30 years, spread out that $3,000-4,000. No, get it right on the front, saves you thousands right on the front end. And I can always explain that at some point if you'd like. Title fees, application fee. So that was at $1,001. We have a upfront that's $395. It's an app fee, but it gets credited to us. And our entire thing is just $1,145. I was at Wells for 5 years before, and theirs was 100 more, but it's different with different players. Or they might say none, but then look at some of these other things. It's math. It's a bottom line spreadsheet. I can always, look at whatever you're looking at and let you know what my thoughts are, and just tell you my thoughts. You do whatever you want. Okay. And earnest money. So that's usually, in fact, I'm going to let John later on when it gets to his, and I'm almost done, for his presentation, what we're seeing in earnest money. It used to be only like $500, $500 back in the day. Right. And now we're seeing the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. You get it back if something on the contract doesn't happen, like the inspection doesn't go well, and you can't negotiate. No, they're not going to, okay, well, the deal is dead and you get your money back. And like I said, your realtor will be highly involved on that, not usually your lender. I can be, just because I have crazy knowledge. So that's that one. Next. Okay, so we've got fixed rate loans. Right? That's what most people are doing. The industry, because of the craziness right now, and even if it's at 6 or 7%, if your loan balance, this is important, if your loan balance, not what your purchase price is, you're putting 100,000 down or less or more or whatever. Well, if your loan balance, if your loan is like 200,000, 250, 150, not 400 or 5, well, it's a different hit. I'm not a different hit. It's a different feel where the difference in rate, yeah, that could be, between one rate tier to the next step up or down. That could be a $70 difference per month. When you have these lower mortgage loan numbers, then that number is like $11 a month. So it depends on your loan size. Okay. Then we have adjustable rate mortgages. Most people aren't doing that at all because rates. But now with rates, there's a 10-year arm, and it could be a 30-year amortization to give you a really low rate, right? Low payment. And then, because if you do a 20-year, it's a better rate chart, do a 10-year and a 15-year and 10-year. So you have choices on different terms. The better, the lower the term, there's less risk because the loan goes away so quick. It puts us where we have less risk as a lender. Then there's the FHA for people with low scores and not much down and income to get you into homes. And then there's the veteran VA loans too. Okay, next. Get started today. Pay bills on time, inspect credit reports. If you feel like my customers, if you do an application, right, there's no risk, there's no obligation to continue, there's no fee, right? But at least I can coach you in regards to what I'm seeing and then do a couple things. Our pre-approvals last for 3 months. And so if we see that we're at the 2.5 mark and now you got an accepted offer, but it's not closing, past the 3 months, we just look to reissue it for another 3 months. But so that gives you time to do some other things that I'm coaching on or telling you, hey, bring that one credit card from, high credit's 1,000 and you're at 900, you're losing points. Get it down to at least one of the other tiers, 50% of the high credit or whatever. Okay, save for your down payment. You can get a gift. A lot of people get a gift, right? And then it's a gift letter. We have to see that it came from whoever the gift giver's account, but it happens all the time with a gift. And they can be huge. They could be for 100,000, 200, or even 3, right? Some parents help a lot with kids, some don't, and or they have a rich uncle or they don't, and so it's all different. Gather tax returns, collect bank statements, take a home buyer education class. Sort of what you're doing here. A lot of times with the first-time home buyers, the lenders are required through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac for you to take this new home buyer class. Gives you terminology and things to that effect. Next. So determine how much you can afford. That's where you talk to your loan officer like me or anybody else that you might want to use. And, they start crunching numbers. And what I love to do is show the rate charts right from, where I'm at, so that's really something important. So, you're going to gather these pre-qualification, sales contracts, social security numbers, because what I do is I send an online application. All it takes is 20 minutes for my client to do it. It's a Fifth Third, comes right from the bank to you. You take 20 minutes and I get an email from my employer, Fifth Third Bank, and then I finish it up and then I generate this pre-approval letter. And sometimes call you, hey, is that what you were thinking on this one? Or did you use gross income, not net? So we just sort of finish it up, generate the letter. It's good for 3 months, you go shopping. So these are the normal list. I've already covered most of it. If you have assets like a 401k, how that is documented, if we're using that for reserves, stuff like, or your cash to close, whatever your plan is, and I'll coach you on that. But we need your 401k plan, your statement. If you get it quarterly, any financial investment or anything that you get quarterly, we just need 1 quarter, the last quarter. If you get it monthly, we need the last 2 months, all pages. And then if you are going to be borrowing from that or even use it for what's called reserves, it's money we don't need, we don't want, but we got to make sure you have at least 2 mortgage payments in some account so that if you have an emergency, you have 2 mortgage payments with taxes, insurance somewhere. And that's how that goes. So the assets. So more of the getting, you call the movers. Here's that assumptions again. This is page 18. We have 1 more page, and then I will quickly show you what a rate chart looks. I'm going to show you how these guys, if I can pull it up, I might be able to do that. But great savings, lots of things you can do. Let me go to page 19. There's probably some questions. We'll hold that for after John does his presentation. But let me see if I can do this. I might not, Okay, looks like I can. Can you see that, John?
No, sir.
Nope. I'm gonna have to share. Oh, it's paused. It is paused. Your screen is paused. Let me just, okay, here's what I'm going to do is I am going to tag over to, I got it back up. You can see the questions comment. Okay, so I'll leave it for right here, and then maybe I can show rate charts to show you this 2-column thing where you got to be very careful. Some loan officers, they should lose their license with that second column called pricing. Okay, I am going to hand it over to John, and he's a high quality, long time, but a fantastic realtor. That's why I invited him on this call. John, you have the floor.
Very good. Thank you. Hi, I'm John Prencipe. I've got 25 years in this crazy business. My first 12 were in mortgage lending. At the crash of the last market, when that unfortunately happened, I made the jump into being a realtor, got my license, and moved forward that way. I'm currently with the Caputo team at Century 21 affiliated. We've got offices all over the place. So basically the buying process in a nutshell, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to talk to Mark or another good lender out there, get your pre-approval. This is going to do two things for you. It's going to determine your buying power, what you can actually afford to buy. And it also may actually tell you what property you can buy. There are many times where a buyer qualifies for the loan, but the property does not. In the case of a condo or a townhouse, sometimes those are not approved for FHA or VA financing. So you may need to look onto another place if that's the case. And what you can do is when you talk to me or another realtor, whoever you choose to use, you're going to give them a good idea of what you're looking for, what type of place you're looking for, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, do you need a garage, do you need a basement, what do you need, where do you need it, the areas you need it. Are you looking for a single family detached home? Are you looking for a condo or a townhouse? And like I say, the specific areas you're looking. Your agent should set you up a search from the MLS. They'll email you directly from the MLS properties. Know that you're going to be out there looking on Redfin and Zillow and what have you, all these other real estate sites, to find your pool of properties you want to check out in order to possibly buy one of them. So your real estate agent will take those properties and they'll set up your showing, giving the seller as much advanced time as they may need to make their property available to you. Usually it's a couple hours. Sometimes they want 24, 48. You just work with what you got. But your agent's also going to make sure that property actually fits what you're looking for. I've had a lot of people who call me and say, hey, I want to go to this property. But you may not have paid attention to everything that was in the listing because there's a lot of information thrown at you. So if I see something like that, I'm asking, well, this one doesn't have a 3-car garage. You wanted 3 cars. You still want to go look at it just to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing and making sure you're seeing what you want. And that's not to say if you've said you want a 3-car, you want to see this 2-car garage property, I'm never going to tell someone, no, you can't look at it. But I just want to make sure it's going to fit your actual needs and what you want. So once you do that, we're going to go out there. We're going to find the property that fits also your financing type and your buying power. And the price range isn't the only number we're concerned with. We're also looking at the taxes on those different properties because your taxes can affect your payment amount. If you've been approved at a certain payment, we want to make sure that all fits into the numbers. So when you go back to Mark with this contract, you go, hey, here we go. He doesn't say, well, we got a problem because the taxes are too high, it changes your payment. So once you get to the point where you're writing an offer, what your realtor will do is they're going to look through comparable sales in the area to make sure, of course, this property is priced right and advise you as to what kind of offer you should make. Keep in mind, you're buying the house, we're not. You're going to make the offer you want. We've got your back 100%. However, a good realtor will tell you the likelihood of the offer going through. I always say, no lowball offers hardly ever go anywhere. I've never seen one actually come together. But you want to make a reasonable offer where a seller may bite at the offer. Chances are, regardless of what you offer, they're going to come back with some kind of counter either way. But at the time you're making the offer, you're actually writing it on a contract. It's a 13-page document full of all kinds of legalese. So what I always do, especially with a first-time buyer, is go through it paragraph by paragraph so you know what you're signing, what you're getting into. Things are going to be in there like how much earnest money you're putting down. It'll explain the attorney modification and inspection periods and all this kind of stuff. It has the closing dates, everything in there, everything about you and your loan type, your lender, your attorney, and it sets a lot of guidelines and timelines. Like for your attorney modification period and your inspection period, that's the same period right at the beginning of the onset of the contract where we're going to go out then and find you an inspector. We're going to go through the house. They're going to check everything from the roof to the basement, everything in between, all the light switches. They're going to check all the plugs. They're going to run the furnace. If it's the correct season, they can run air conditioning. Sometimes they can't do that when it's too cold outside because they may damage it actually. But they're going to check the electrical systems, all the, the furnace, all the mechanicals, make sure everything's proper. They're going to go on the roof. They're going to look at the roof, make sure you don't have missing shingles. There's no problems there. They're going to go into the attic, make sure there's no mold, things that we wouldn't see normally on our viewing of the house. We're not going up in the attic, so we're not looking for mold or critters or anything like that. So they're going to check all that stuff, and they're going to give you a report that's probably going to be 40 to 60 pages of problems that they've found, not necessarily problems, but issues that you may want to keep in mind and take a look at. So those items, then we're going to decide, you and I would talk, or your realtor would talk about which of those items are things you're concerned with and want addressed by the seller. I always say, don't sweat the small stuff. If an outlet doesn't work, an outlet's about 37 cents. However, if the furnace doesn't light up, that's a whole other issue. And we want to take care of the big ticket items and make sure when you're moving in, it's safe and secure and comfortable for you to live in there. Once we get through those periods, Mark's already doing his stuff with verifying all your income assets and all that fun stuff. Once we get all the way through there and through the inspection period and we're ready to close, we're going to find a time to go out to do our final walkthrough right before closing, just to make sure that at the time of closing, the property has not, nothing's been damaged. It hasn't deteriorated in any way compared to when you wrote the offer. You want to make sure that everything's the same. And generally, I literally, with my clients, I take them through about an hour before the closing itself to make sure. We want it right up to the point of closing, so there's no time in between our walkthrough and the closing for anything to happen. So we set all that stuff up. Once we've done all that, Mark's doing what he does. The attorneys are doing their title work and everything they need to do. And from there, it's really a waiting time to get the clear to close from your lender. They'll set that up with the attorneys, the closing date and time. When you do find an agent, it is very helpful to find someone who is full-time. You want to be able to get them on the phone when you need them on the phone. The communication is one of the most important parts of this whole process. Being able to communicate to you to make you understand everything you're going through, because there's a lot of moving parts in the whole transaction, and the more you know, the easier the whole process will be on you. You're going to want someone who's available and experienced. Lots of new agents in this market because times have been very good. That's not to say they're not great agents, but there's a lot of them out there, and you want someone who really does know what they're doing. So you're going to want someone who's well-versed in the market and the current trends to be able to work you through those offer situations, especially if you're going up against a bunch of other offers. Your approach would be different as opposed to where you have no other offers, obviously. So that's pretty much the process for my end of it. Like I say, I've been out here for 25 years doing this, and I've been pretty successful doing it. And that's everything I've got for you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate your time and your expertise. It's always great. Also, what I'd like to do before we do the Q&A is I'd like you to know that my telephone number, cell phone, is 815-353-2330. You can always get it from the library with Kelly, but that's mine. And John, your cell number is?
My cell phone is 815-210-2912.
Kelly just posted it. Thank you, Kelly. You rock as always. And so now would be any questions that anybody might ask.
I did mention it earlier in the chat, but I also want to say that if you are uncomfortable unmuting yourself, you can always throw it in the chat and I will read it aloud as well.
Looks like there's no questions. Let me just see if I can share and do a rate chart so everybody can just see what's going on. Let me just see if I can do it. I might not be able to. And so I gotta figure out this thing. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to share my screen on this. I'm just logging into the Fifth Third Bank. There's mortgage rates right there. And you can always run a scenario by me anytime that you go to Tuesday, I'll do the state of Illinois. It's thinking, okay, looks like it's going to paint. Now I just got to see if I can get it on the share my desktop. Okay, you probably can't see this, I'm guessing, right?
Not yet.
Okay, so I do have on my desktop. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, it might be tough. Oh wait, here it is. Okay. Can you see that? Can you see that on my, you were sharing? You can see that, right, Kelly?
Yes, we can't see the complete sheet because it's a little bit cut off, but
Right.
we
Okay,
can see
but
the
real
top there.
quick, this is really important because I'm going to show you something really important. Okay, we are cut off on the little bit of the left side, which is fine, but this was a 30-year rate chart, a 20-year rate chart, a 15-year rate chart. Notice there's two columns. There's actually three, but really there's two. The first column is the rate. The second column is pricing. And if you do a 45-day lock, which is all what purchases are, and then here's a 60. So this is the extra charge that, and there we can get off-sheet pricing so that your payment to buy it down to that rate, so here's a 4.62, but you have to pay 5 points. Now, there's other pages on this, for doctor loans, VA, everything you can imagine. But the main thing is we take 50 basis points for anybody that's our customer, or they just open up a Fifth Third checking account. And they say, this is where I want the mortgage payment sucked out. That just lowered that back end. You can pick the rate, and then it's that second column. That's where people don't do. And it goes under, if you're in a condo, if there's a hit on that, non-owner occupied, somebody might be on the call, might be looking to buy an investment property. They already own a home. So then there's different adjustments, loan to value, depending on how much you put down. If it's a 1 unit, there was no bump. If it's a 2 unit, there's a little bit of risk. So it does an add, loan to value, and your credit score. So there's some things that, I think can be important in regards to it, but just ask your loan officer, just make sure, and they give you a rate, say, what do I have to pay for that rate? This is where they don't, and then all of a sudden you're at the close, and then they didn't really talk about much, and then, yeah, it can go not well. And so that's just a little side bonus. I know we've got 2 minutes left. If anybody has any question, if not, I'll let Kelly bring us to a close. I really appreciate the people that are on this call and the teammates. Thank you so much. But again, just call me at 815-353-2330 or Mark, M-A-R-K .Lenard, L-E-N, like Nancy, A-R-D, at 53.com. And then John's gave you his number. He can always call him. He can give you his email too. Thank you so much, everybody. It's 4:59, so we're going to give you a minute back in your day. Have a great day, and congratulations on your decision to buy a home. Change your stars. Bye.
All right.
Take care, everybody.